Is there anyone in the room that wants to kind of take the lead? Is there any sort of burning questions that people had on the back of Giles's talk?
Well, just to begin, I'm hoping I've answered some of Marco's questions he had earlier in the last one. Yeah, thumbs up, good.
Hi, Giles. Thank you. That was a very good session. Found it extremely helpful. Thank you. So my question to you is something which I am seeing in my current engagement. I work as a program consultant. So I'm working with a CIO in an organization. So there's lots of things over here that he'd be particularly keen to, learn and unlearn in some cases. Having said that, the current engagement which I'm working, the IT department is now torn between being agile, doing agile, and all that stuff. Everyone out here gets agile, right? So that otherwise we wouldn't be here. You're not selling agile. We get agile. We're all agile purists, all that. But as a department, there is lots of reasons not to go agile as well, right? So agile is not an answer for everything, right? There is a different mindset of delivery structure needed in organizations. Agile is not the only answer for everything. So he's done a lot of consulting with Gartner and all. So Gartner has now come up with something called as a bimodal IT. Familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can have a separate discussion on that then. So how an organization which wants to have one flavor of traditional IT, which is control when it comes to procurement, lots of rigidity when it comes to service management and all those things. Well, Agile introduces a lot of risk and embracing that risk. So how does someone at a leadership or a C-suite level embrace that? We could have a chat here, or we could have it later on if it's too heavy.
No, I kind of started alluding to that earlier. And I think it is... whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it a transformation, whether you want to call it an adoption, whether you want to call it about building a new way of working within your organization, it's got to start at the top, right? You try and push an agile implementation from the bottom up or at middle management, and you're going to hit a ceiling, all right? And you need to start right at the very beginning. Now, I said one of the questions that I ask when I arrive into an organization is, the why. Why are we having to do this? Why does Agile even need to be thought of as being some part of a solution for the organization or not? And of course, it's sitting there and actually working with that senior leadership team, coaching them, mentoring them to find out what they want to change. And if they don't want to change, then Agile isn't the answer. All right. And you still build a new way of working that somehow can remove some friction in part of the delivery process. But whether that's a waterfall, V model, JFDI, just effing do it. Whatever it is, get shit done. I mean, who cares? But it's whatever is that model, that right outcome, that right way of working, I think is the answer. If you've actually got an organization that kind of goes, yeah, we want to learn, coach us, fantastic. You're onto a journey where that senior leadership team will then extol the virtues of what you're doing throughout the rest of the organization. But then don't limit it to simply just the development part. That just making the coding part agile, as I talked about, so many organizations think that somehow is the magical answer. No, it's not. You've got to think about how the touch points of that development organization are going to work with procurement, to your point, to HR, to finance. And are the finance team on that agile journey as well? Are they being talked about around things like beyond budgeting and those things as well? Are we actually thinking about hiring the right people? Are we talking to whoever asked the question earlier about project managers and that? Are we actually getting those people on training courses to actually transition them into another agile role within the organization? If the company doesn't need to become agile, then they stay as project managers and they work within whatever way. Consultants and even agile coaches can still go in and help remove friction in actually overall maximizing flow from idea to value within an organization, even if they don't necessarily adopt a full-scale agile framework. If they do, phenomenal. If they don't, so what?
Follow up from me. So if you don't have the buy-in from the top, are you going to kind of like compartmentalize it into different areas of the business, or like if you can still have those successes below exec level if they're not bought in, like
go home.
but how
I said shoot
how am I?
Yeah. you're going to get to that ceiling, right? And you're going to get to a point where you've created some high-performing teams, and they need to work with other parts of the organization that are less flexible to change, that have that hardcore bureaucracy for whatever reason, because it's the way they've worked for the last 20 years. Christ, I mean, come on, be more flexible, be open to new ways of working, and actually more adaptive to understanding how other parts of that organization are adapting to new ways of working as well, right? And so it's about bringing other people on that journey. If they don't want to be on that journey, then you can't lead. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, unless you put heavy weights around its neck. But you get the point. There is only so far you will get. You can start compartmentalizing it, and I've seen Agile work very well in departments, but literally you step one step outside the door of that department and it's hell.
I'm going to follow up again, Giles, mate. I'm really sorry, but...
Hey, well, we're down there now. Hey.
The top-down thing is really important, but we can inflict positive change at a lower level where we don't necessarily need the exec team brought in or whatever it may be.
I agree, 100%. And as I said, I mentioned it, you've got to have that top-down and bottom-up buy-in within an organization. But I think you do get to a ceiling and a maximum size. You start trying to do this at an enterprise level. Well, we could walk into any startup and build that way of working, and you'll have great successes, and you'll probably take everybody on that journey, and they'll deliver amazing outcomes. And it'll be the right outcomes for the organization as well. But again, within certain large organizations where there are multiple thousands of employees, you will inevitably hit a ceiling if somebody at the top is not agreeing to the approach that's being taken and wants to come back and do that way of organizing, not that way of working.
Sorry, mate. We had a question around here somewhere. I can't remember exactly who.
Isn't there also the risk that you hit the ceiling anyway, or these sorts of ceilings? Because even if you've got your C-level brought in, you've got the issues of investors and also clients, especially in B2B.
Yeah, again, agree. You've got to take everybody. You've got to start at the top. And again, if you're coming in, you don't just do it. You come in, you do a whole raft of consultancy, you do a whole raft of coaching. You sit in, open space sessions, future searches, whatever that looks like. You come in, you spend that time with those people who are asking for the change to happen, and you've got to understand why it needs to happen, if it needs to happen at all. And actually, in fact, if you're going to come in and suddenly change something, which may create further friction for your clients, especially in a B2B space, then you don't do it. I mean, you carry on, you find a different path. You keep shifting left, shifting right until you find something, a way of working that's going to work for the organization. As I said, Agile isn't necessarily the answer. It's certainly not the goal. It's successful business outcomes, which is what the goal is about.
Okay, cool. I think we've probably got time for one more. Sheridan, right? I had a question.
Yeah, hi, Sherman's the name. Yeah. Anyway,
Hey, Sherman.
a question from the top down. So let's look at it differently. I actually support Agile. I have since it was the 1990s. Probably not the biggest lean guy around, but we'll get there. The question, I think my exception is, as you get to that very senior leadership level, your priorities are so turned around. If you have 10, 20, 30,000 employees and you're answering to God knows how many pension funds where your money's coming from, and your clients want a 10 billion pound project delivered, those numbers that really seem to upset or almost go against the Agile thought process, actually, I think you have to take them into account when you have to be held accountable. So I need Agile teams, but I also need that Agile team to be able to feed into the way of working that I need to be able to say, yes, we're going to deliver this on time, and we're going to deliver it on budget. Otherwise, you look at somebody who thought they were agile over at Canary Wharf, and there's no trains running through Crossrail.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think trust is a big thing. Okay. For me, for Fricks, and probably for other people, about going into those organizations, you try to go into them at the sort of the most senior level you possibly can, especially if you have that agile mindset, because you want to be able to be that influencer, that coach, that mentor to those other people. And the further you go into an organization, the higher you are. If you're extolling the virtues of that way of working, that mindset, then you've got a better chance with a shorter journey upwards than you have with the longer journey downwards. But again, it's back to trust. It's back to this last point. For the gang, that leadership team, those CEOs and other people who do have to worry, trust those other people. The hardest lesson is to trust those champions and coaches that you have within the organization and get out of their way. Because I guarantee you, those people who do have that mindset, who are awesome at doing that job, will in turn deliver you great results.
Well, no, we agree.
Yeah.
But you see, that's the problem is we agree, but we're speaking on the language translation doesn't work.
Management always look up.
Yeah.
All right. They're never going to look down and get somebody to tell you what to do. They're always going to look up. So if you want to have success with management, you have to go to someone higher or someone who's more important.
Correct.
Who's done it. Okay. Who they'll look up to. Think, well, he's got a bigger company. I mean, he's turned it around, you know. So I've got a couple of papers. You only one LinkedIn. One's about George C. Marshall, who took the American Army from 170,000 people to 5 million and a superpower. Okay, and he is absolutely agile. All right. First thing he went in and done was sack 200 generals.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
All right. He went in and said, "You're okay, you generals, for parading around squares and cleaning boots, but you're not the type of person that's going to take us into battle." Okay, and I've just done another one on the to me the biggest innovation that we know of is the introduction of the computer. All right, and that came from Bletchley Park. Okay, and that was pure innovation. Okay, how do you and when you read how that happens, okay, it's absolutely agile. I believe agile started it, to be honest with you, that. But I mean, so you need to, and the person that led Bletchley Park was Churchill. Right, there wasn't anyone higher on the land. Okay, so that might help answer your question. That the only way you get these guys to move is to get someone who's bigger and better than them.
Hope that answers your question.
Awesome stuff. All right, thanks very much, Giles.